silence his phone. Can you take the roll, please?
Ex officio Marthouse. Director Tozan.
Here.
Director Ramirez.
Here.
Director Nutting.
Here, just barely.
Director LaFontaine.
Here.
Director James.
Here.
Director Blackwood.
Here.
Secretary Sislo is here. Director Becker.
Here.
Oops, sorry, Treasurer Becker. Vice President Gillen.
Here.
President Knobloch.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, Ms. Sislo, the approval of the minutes from 9/19/22.
If you will note on the minutes were approved by email vote completed on October 13th, so the minutes were approved.
Okay, next is to approve or amend the meeting agenda. Does anyone need to amend the agenda for any reason? Okay, so need to vote now to approve the agenda that we have. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, the president's report. We have new ID cards. If you haven't gotten one, it's the red and white ones. Okay, on the back of it's got the black magnetic strip, and that's going to update every night your status. Okay, so it's important that you get that. If you don't have one, you can get it made in the concierge desk that's in the front of the lobby of the club. There's no charge to do that. You can use your old picture, or you can use a new one if you'd like to do that. The desk that is open during regular business hours, Monday through Friday, and also on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. You can have the card made for you and your spouse or children at the same time. If it happens to be really busy when you show up, you can leave the old card there, and the new one will be made for you, and they'll call you when it's ready. If you go buy a Coke or eat something or other, she can usually get it done within that time. Just for your information, we have about 7,000 of the old cards that were issued because in addition to the husband, wife, or significant others, you got all the kids. So there's about 7,000 of them out there. So the process of changing over does take a little while, but the new cards are being made only if you're a member in good standing. Okay, you must have the new card before December the 1st, okay, and if you want to receive the discount. The floating docks are almost all installed. There's a few little things going on. It took us about a year and a half to get this done. It's been a real interesting supply issues. We have a grant that'll pay for approximately 2/3 of the total cost. We've applied for another grant to hopefully cover the final third. I have a suggestion for you, even if you're not a fisher, I guess it's fisher person today, or a boater. If you go visit the new harbor master, Diane, you look around, go inside the building there. It's also a great location to have an early morning coffee or a late afternoon adult beverage. Inflation for all of us is up, and a POA has been affected also. It's a couple of examples. Alcohol and wine and beer has gone up to about 10%, wings 40%, fries 10%, hamburgers 22%, filet 21%, chicken breast 20%. Okay, we really have no alternative but to increase the cost of food and beverages that we sell at this time. So you will see some individual prices being raised to cover the cost. Remember, if you want the 15% discount, be a member in good standing, have the ID card with you. Good news is the annual dues will remain the same as they have last year, and it's been at least 3 or 4 years now since they were increased. A reminder, we have early election voting in November. I recently had 2 calls from from interesting residents stating that the ballots would not be counted because alcohol was being served in the building. Both callers were adamant that the votes from the new precinct would not count because they knew the law. When the county they happened to approach me about that, what do you think was the absolute first question that I asked? Can we sell alcohol in a club at that time? Okay? The county wasn't 100% sure, so we were there. They called the Secretary of State's office, who handles all the voting, and I'm going to paraphrase them, but it's okay as long as the poll workers are not selling it. And so we're okay. Obviously, the people who called me about that and who knew the law were mistaken. The hotel in the front of Diamond Head was closed for various fire and code violations. Excuse me. A new person bought the land and the facility. Several of us met with the new owner. Then it will remain under the umbrella of Ramada, simply because the previous owner had signed a contract with him maybe 6-7 months ago, and for him to get out of it now would be like $400,000 or $500,000. So it's obviously not worth it to him. So it'll stay under the Ramada umbrella. It's a young man. Young is always defined differently by some of us. It's probably in his 40s. He has a lot of experience in all the groups that he deals with, own a whole bunch and run all these hotels, a lot of them along the coast now. He also is living in Diamond Head. He's got a lot of plans for it. The inside pool, if you've never been in there, has already been refurbished. It was moved from 6 feet to 5 feet, okay, and it's actually working for a change. The amount of old stuff that was removed, if you have kind of looked around there, they had between 40 and 50 of those big open dumpsters that you see at construction sites that they paid for to pull all the interesting stuff out. So several of us, when we met with him, because if the hotel is significantly improved, and I'm not talking about a Ritz-Carlton, okay, but something decent, nice, and so forth, the POA can work with the owner to promote golf and wedding groups staying there. We have literally thousands of people who come in here every year to play golf, many of them in large groups from 60 to 120, something like that. And if we could do that and offer golf packages, it would be both a win-win for the POA and for this business. In addition, if you really think about it, Diamond Head has the only land adjacent to I-10 in Hancock County where a hotel can be built because of wetlands and Stennis and this kind of thing. So in addition to golf and wedding groups, you have both Stennis and Port Bienville. They bring in a lot of visitors and employees from time to time. Maybe some of them would stay here, so it would be good for the entire community. It's something, in my opinion, sorely needed in this particular community. So reminder, last thing, if you're a member in good standing, still have the old green and white ID card, make arrangements to get a new one. Okay, next we have the committee reports starting down this way. Mr. Nutting, you have anything?
No, not at this time.
Okay, Mr. Becker?
The budget committee met several times, but we'll talk about that more when we pass the budget.
Okay, Mr. Gillen?
Give me a chance to pull it up, have somebody else say it.
Ms. Sislo?
The Recreation Committee met. We're primarily concentrating on whether we can come up with a way to provide food and beverage at East Rec. We have a lot of groundwork to do before we can get anywhere with that idea. We also addressed the issue of lighting at the country club tennis pickleball courts. People are asking if we could have night lighting. We have not come up with a system that will work at this point in time. So we're going to have to hold off on providing lighting at night there. That's all.
Okay, Mr. Tozan?
The House Committee did not meet this month. Our next meeting is November the 4th.
Mr. James? Oops, sorry. Mr. James?
Yes, the Golf and Grounds Committee met on 13th of October. We were briefed by the Green Superintendent. We have had 1 inch of rain, including September, up to this date. Pre-emerge has been applied, overseeding on the driving range on October the 24th. The grass growth has started slowing, so it allows the maintenance crew to do other issues like cleaning bunkers, trimming limbs, and they also have lost their irrigation technician, which are looking for a replacement. The golf shop has been very busy with tournaments since our last meeting. The Drive Chip and Putt Sub-Regional, Slavic, CP4 Ball, Wheel of Misfortune, Diamonds in the Rough, among other things. upcoming events is the club championship next weekend. The committee recommended replacing the underground electrical cable, which is on the agenda, but for the halfway house and the irrigation control boxes for holes 4 through 8 on the Cardinal. Sponsorship advertising on scoreboard, the committee has recommended for Chris to research the normal pricing and return recommendations for the 5 scoreboards only. We were given an update by the handicap committee. There are 5 committee members. They have started their review, and we encourage everyone to post their scores. There was a discussion about golfers with dogs on the course while playing. The bylaws say no dogs on the golf course, and there will be further discussion on that.
Okay, Mr. Gillen, you found it?
I'll pass.
Mr. Blackwood, anything?
Yes, the administration committee met and working with the treasurer on the new budget. We got an update on the software system. It's going to be operational everywhere except the club bar and restaurant by the end of this month, and hopefully December 1st they'll go live with the club and bar. We also reviewed the status of accounts receivable, and there is ongoing efforts to collect the money in the civil courts and the judicial courts. That's it.
Okay, Mr. LaFontaine?
The next Safety and Environmental meeting is scheduled for the 26th of October, next Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ramirez?
Facilities Committee met and did the same thing that we've been doing at all the assets. We did the club this time. Found some things that we would like to get some attention, and sent those things to Greg and Adam, and they're being worked on as we speak. So our next meeting is next month.
Okay, thank you. Last chance, Mr. Gillen. Okay, it's going to computer heaven or heck. Okay, next is the general manager's report. Mr. Gabby is not here. His wife's younger brother died. Okay, so he's in North Carolina. Hopefully he'll be back within the next couple of days. Do we have any POA member comments on agenda items?
No, we do not.
Okay. Move to the regular agenda. Item number 2022-25, a motion to purchase a new clubhouse kitchen stove for not to exceed $7,500. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Tozan makes the motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Mr. LaFontaine seconded. Mr. Tozan.
Yes, just that this stove has been in place since the rebuild. It's beginning to have the need for a lot of repairs. It's time to replace it. We'll be replacing this one now, and then the second stove, also bought at the same time. We'll address at a future date.
Anyone else have any comments on that one? I know that stove is over 20 years old now. Okay, hearing no other comments, then we'll call the question. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous, so the motion passes. The second motion, 2022-26, is a motion to replace the underground power cable for golf course irrigation not to exceed $7,000. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Mr. James makes a motion. Dr. Nutting seconds it. Mr. James?
Yes, the power cable on number 5 Cardinal to the halfway house is beyond repair. One leg of the power line has failed due to corrosion. The facilities department has found a temporary solution to the boxes, so the boxes will run at night, in which controls 2 irrigation boxes 4 through 8 on the Cardinal. This is the best permanent solution, is to run a new underground cable from the main power line on Turnberry to the halfway house on it with its own transformer and meter base. After measuring it out, it's 993 feet. There is a cost at $5 a foot, which means trenching, supplying the cable, and covering it, the riser, the transformer, and the meter base. Was estimated with taxes to be $6,700 from Coastal Electric, which is our power provider. We did get some verbal quotes from independent trenchers, but the cost was not cheaper, and we still had to get Coastal to do the tie-ins and the meter base.
Anyone else have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I was at that committee when Dan Hammond, our very capable greenskeeper, told us it's really a no-brainer, it just has to be done.
Mr. LaFontaine?
And it gives us additional primary power sources for additional expansions in the future.
Okay, anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, so we'll call the question. If you approve the motion to replace the underground power cable for golf course irrigation not to exceed $7,000, please raise your right hand. Okay, it is unanimous, so the motion passes. Motion 2022-27. It's a motion to purchase and install 3 mini-split air conditioning units for the kitchen not to exceed $5,500. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Tozan makes a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Gillen seconds it. Mr. Tozan?
The current air conditioner for the kitchen has been out of order for some time. They've been making do. The cost of replacing it or fixing it exceeds the cost of putting the 3 mini splits in. The mini splits are easier to maintain, they're easier to work with, and they're efficient. So I think it makes sense to go that direction.
Anyone else have any questions?
Dennis, does that include the price of installation, or is that
It
just? Okay,
It does.
thank you.
Okay, because there was you can tell us that there was a quick discussion about whether or not the mini splits would be sufficient instead of having the one big unit doing it.
Well, the concern was over the fact that we don't have outside walls to receive them. I'm informed that up to 25 feet they can be used, and he has that 25 feet to do it, and they are more efficient.
Okay, Mr. Becker?
Yeah, we have a golf member who doesn't live in Diamond Head, but he's an annual golf member who runs a commercial and residential air conditioning company out of New Orleans, and he's agreed to come over and look at all of our air condition situations without charging us. But I asked him, because he's waiting for Greg Abity to come back, whether this was a good idea, and he said this would work.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then we'll call for the question, the motion to purchase and install 3 mini-split air conditioning units for the kitchen not to exceed $5,500. All in favor, just raise your right hand. Again, it's a unanimous vote, so the motion passes. Motion 2022-28, it's a motion to lease, purchase a new service cart for $408.32 for 60 months and a $1 buyout at the end of the lease. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Tozan makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Blackwood seconds it. Mr. Tozan?
Yeah, so we talked about this briefly at the last meeting. Today we have a 2015 and a 2004 cart. 2 more years we can put a antique license tag on the old 4 cart. It's used, it's met its use. It's time for it to go. We need to replace it. The 15 cart is in need of repair and updating, and it's time for us to address both of them. There's a question of whether or not we need 2 carts. Yes, we do. There are times we have tournaments on one end and play on the other side. We need 2 carts, and we always need 2 carts for the larger tournaments when they take up both courses.
Any other comments?
What is the cost of if we bought it straight out without leasing it?
Ronnie, because we have the agreement with Ben Nelson that we do, it's a lease purchase with our current carts, we just tagged on to it. It's easier to do that. The maintenance comes with it. It's more efficient.
Okay,
for us to
maintenance
handle.
cost is included?
Right.
Okay, that's a big plus.
But it also means after 60 months, you've paid $24,480 for it.
Right.
So do we have any idea of what a new cart would be?
A new cart with all the service on it runs in the range of 12 to 13,000. When you start putting all the service units on the back of it, it adds the cost to it. So it's a reasonable cost.
Anybody else have any questions, comments?
I have one comment. I mean, I'm not totally opposed to it, but I would like to see it delayed for one more meeting to give us more time to review other options and quotes. I'm not in disagreement that we don't need to at times. I'm certainly in favor of rebuilding one, and we do need to at time, and one is almost totally unusable.
Any other comments?
Just to say, we can delay if we want, but ultimately we're going to have to replace it. I don't think we're going to find a better cost, but if he wants to go through the process of looking for other costs, we can. Keep in mind, if we do, we deal with a different vendor, different maintenance cost, probably add cost to the whole system.
If we want to delay doing this, we have two choices. One, you can table the motion. Okay, all it needs is somebody to make it, and a second, there's no discussion on it, then it's just a majority vote to table it. But if you table it, then it doesn't automatically come up at the next meeting, okay? You would have to take it off, you have to vote to take it off of the table and put it back on, okay? So that's the thing. If you want to do that, if you want to postpone it, you just make a motion. I looked it up because I couldn't remember, okay? I'm cheating here. I move to postpone this matter until the next meeting, then it automatically appears on the agenda. Yes.
I have a question. We have one that's operational right now, so we're not without.
We have the 2004 that's operational now, and it's on this last leg. 15 is not operational. It's set up against the fence in the back.
It's done.
It's done.
Okay.
Well, I say it's done. It's not operational. It's the one we're going to refurbish.
Mm-hmm.
So Dennis, I can't listen as fast as you can talk sometimes, but what's the difference between the lease price and the buying price again?
Well, the reason we go through the lease price is for the same reason we did the lease price with all the other carts that we have. We have the maintenance that comes with it. It's maintained. The guarantees and the warranties and the batteries all come with it. It's all maintained. If we go through a purchase, we buy it, and then we wind up with a short warranty period, and then the maintenance is on us.
No, I understand that, but what were the dollar figures for leasing and buying?
We didn't go through a purchase price. We went strictly to the lease approach. Would it be cheaper to buy it outright? I don't know, Stuart. I don't have that answer.
Okay.
What's the lead time? What's the lead time on delivery?
I don't have that. It's less than 6 weeks, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
Anyone like to make a decision?
I hear a request for a motion to
table.
You want to make that motion?
No.
Postpone.
No.
Yeah.
We want,
postpone it.
if we do anything, we need to postpone. I say we postpone, whatever that is.
Okay, it actually says, I move we postpone this matter until
I
the
move that we
next meeting.
postpone this matter till the next meeting.
Okay, we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Who was that, Ryan?
Ronnie James.
Seconds it? Okay, reading across to my cheat sheet. Second, it is debatable, or it's amendable. Anybody got any thoughts on that? Hearing no thoughts, we just move forward. So we need a majority of the people here to vote to postpone it to the next meeting. So if you want to postpone it, raise your right hand, please. Okay, now, Mr. Gillen, I think, is the only one who voted against it. Okay? So you got that? Okay, next thing, number 2022-29 is a motion to approve refurbishing of the 2015 service cart for not to exceed $6,850. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr.
I'll
Tozan
second it.
makes a motion.
I'll second it.
That was Dr. Nutting, seconds it. Mr. Tozan?
Just that, we need to get it refurbished so we can have a good one on the road before the '04 fails. It needs to be worked on.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yeah, it's certainly in need of refurbishing, and as Dennis said, we do need a second one, and we're going to decide what we're going to do about that down the road. But in the meantime, this one needs to be up and running, and it is certainly ready for renovations.
Do you know what refurbishing needs to be done?
The motor needs to be rebuilt completely, and they're going to have to refurbish the cabinets on it. All of that needs to be updated. Refurbish the seats are worn. We have been leaving these carts out in the weather. The plan is with these new carts is to put them in the storage in the barn. We have to make room for it. The facilities committee just went through a review of the barn and pointed out a number of things that need to be pulled out of there and either gotten rid of or sold so we can have more room to work with. But we'll be storing them in the barn and hopefully they'll last a little bit longer.
Does the four-seater get pulled inside every night?
It does. All the carts, with the exception of those two, are brought into the barn every night.
Okay, thank you.
Did I understand you, Dennis, that this one is not operational at this time?
No, it's parked up against the fence behind the barn right now. It's not operational. They're using the '04.
The response that I got back for the stuff in the barn down there was that there has been that stuff removed that we had suggested be removed, and so there should be room down there now.
It's not been removed. The only thing that's been removed is the restaurant catering cabinets that were in there.
That's what I was
All
told.
the other lighting, all the carpet, all the other storage that's been thrown in that corner still sits there and needs to
Okay.
be removed.
So who's responsible for moving it?
Dr. Mr. Abedy.
You guys made the recommendation?
I don't have an
You
answer
make
for
a
that.
recommendation
They made
of
a
who-
recommendation.
what to do with it? Or
So we
curious.
just said that we either needed to use it or get rid of it, and in the condition that it was, and what I'm talking about is the old buffet tables. And you said that has been removed? But
The buffet tables haven't, but all the lighting, all the chandeliers, all the old carpet, all the chairs, all the tables that are thrown in that corner are still sitting there. If you go into the storage room in the back, it's just as bad. If you look at the storage area in the front, it's just as bad. The whole place needs to be straightened out, and I'm sure you caught that when you made your walkthrough.
it was on that list.
So while this is being refurbished, which we don't know how long that would take, we could put a person on a cart, a regular cart with a, what do you call it, a couple of ice chests or whatever, which would at least be something for a while,
I know some clubs that do that, yes.
right? Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, so all in favor of a motion to approve refurbishing the 2015 service cart for not to exceed $6,850, please raise your right hand. Okay, that is unanimous, so that motion is approved. We have motion 2022-30 is a motion to approve the 2023 budget. Anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
That was Mr. Becker, right? Mr. Becker makes a motion, second. Mr. Gillen seconds it. Mr. Becker?
The budget has been a 2 to 3 month project. It started out with the department heads meeting with Darian McInnes, the controller, and Greg Abedy, the general manager. They put together their thoughts, and then Bill Blackwood, the head of the admin committee, and myself met with Darian and Greg Abedy and went over those. In some cases, we accepted what they gave us. In other cases, we sent it back to the department heads for revision. That process has been gone through 2 or 3 times, and then we had a general meeting of the board and executive session to look at the budget and go over it in detail. We did that department by department, and now we've reached a point where it's time to approve the budget.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor of approving the 2023 budget on time for a change? That's for Mr. Durrell. Yes.
No, I'll raise my hand for the vote.
He's
Oh.
voting yes.
Raise your right hand, please. Okay, it's a unanimous vote, so that's good. Do we have any POA members who want to comment on non-agenda items?
We do not.
Okay, 2 quick things. We have the fair tomorrow from 11 to 4, And then if you want to do that, they got a bunch of things going on at the club. Then if you can come over here if you want, from 4 to 8 or whatever it is, they have that red beans and rice cook-off thing, okay? The second thing, I know y'all won't see this, but the board members, make sure you look in there and you find that TEI, that's that total integrated system that the new system is put in, an update. We should all smile by looking at this update. It's getting closer. Okay,
Ernie, I have something.
yes, Mr. Becker?
Yeah, just a reminder to the membership, in conjunction with the new docks being put in, we have graciously been offered by Sonny Schindler, the head guide of Sure Thing Fishing Charters, to do a fishing seminar at the marina on November the 9th at 6 o'clock. He did this for us 3 or 4 years ago. He brought several fishing rigs with him, went over how they fish, the guides do every month of the year. It was very informative, and we're lucky to have him. So if you're free on November the 9th, you have any interest in fishing or just going to see the docks and participating, please do so. We'd like to get a decent crowd for his effort.
Anyone else have anything they want to say? You found something?
No. Well, whatever I had to say in the committee was, y'all already covered it with the new docks. That's what we discussed. But there, just to let people know, the new docks are not for fishing. We've had a problem with some people going down there after the ship store closes, and that's after dark. You're going out on those floating docks, they're floating. So they do move, and it could be unstable, and it's dangerous for you to be out there on the end of that dock fishing. Plus, some of the people that went out there left all their trash out there. Please don't do that, and please don't go out there. It is a hazard. Until we can get a gate put up to keep people from making a trip out there, it's not an area you should be going.
And going a little past that, somebody killed a deer somewhere, I don't know where, brought it to the south side, to the harbor, and cut it open, dressed it and everything, threw the stomach and the carcass into the water 3 days ago. You might remember that's how Rotten Bayou got its name, back from the Indians and everything, which has nothing to do with anything else. But someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Ernie, one thing
Whoops,
first.
I'm sorry, Dr. Nutting?
Just publicly, I'd like to send out condolences and thoughts and prayers to Mr. Aberdeen and his wife under this very, very most difficult time. And we wish him and his family the best.
I think everyone agrees. Did somebody make a motion to it? Mr. Blackwood, you're taking Teresa's place. Mr.
I'll second.
Fontaine seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Next meeting, it's on the paper. November 21st. We're making some progress, believe it or not. Some of it.
All right.
Let me see if she knows what she's doing.
I had a near horrible time trying to take the landscape PDF.
You know what you're doing now, guys? Okay.
Now, if you use, Microsoft, it says you can attach
Thank you.
it. But when it came in multiple lines. It wasn't saved well at all.
Hi.
So they wanted me to attach that budget, which I received in PDF format, here, to the back, to a Microsoft Word document.
Oh, you want to go over there and have a drink? Oh, it's Friday night. It's so different.
You go to Object, you do all that stuff. It says it's modifiable once.
I may sing. No,
It's not.
it doesn't interest me.
And
I
so
could
it
go
was
over
like
there and-
this with every program, like, you want a better way.
Yeah, I can get something to drink.
Copy.
I would actually have to put my hands on myself. I'm not involved with any of the reporting at this time.
Okay. So who's an expert in, do you have of any expert in the office? That don't need to do
If
with-
Darian can't make it